Welcome everyone. In this short video, we're going to discuss navigation features within a SoftChalk Create lesson. I've already logged into my SoftChalk Cloud account and I've opened a lesson that I've stored there. So I'm going to navigate and go into SoftChalk Create. We've learned in previous lessons that we can take content in Microsoft Word, copy it and paste it within the SoftChalk Create program. Microsoft Word uses styled paragraphs, and so does SoftChalk Create. SoftChalk Create uses styled paragraphs, heading 1 and heading 2, to create navigation points within a lesson. Those navigation points will then create automatic navigation when we display a table of contents within our lesson. How do we create a navigation point? We simply place the cursor where we would like to navigate to. We then choose a styled paragraph, heading 1, heading 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Again, if I would like to create a navigation point, I use heading 1 or heading 2. Think of our navigation points as a topical outline, where heading 1 is the main topic and heading 2 is a subtopic. I would like my students to be able to navigate to my main topic, Instructional Designers. I click on Instructional Designers. I then go to my Style tool and I choose heading 1. Edgar Dale is a subtopic of Instructional Designers, so his name would be in a heading 2 styled paragraph. Cone of Experience is a subtopic of Edgar Dale. So to give me a nice structure, I can then make Cone of Experience a heading 3 paragraph style. Robert Gagne would be another instructional designer. So I should make that a heading 2 style. And each one of my instructional designers would then be a heading 2 style. Really simple to create navigation points within a SoftChalk Create lesson. Once we have navigation points created, we then may think about chunking our content. Chunking means dividing our long one-page content, and notice currently we do have a one-page lesson, into multiple pages. We found when we copy from Word, SoftChalk Create removes all of the page breaks. How do we add a page break? We place the cursor where we would like the page to end, and then we insert a page break. Again, we place the cursor where we would like our page to end, and then we simply insert a page break. Pages may not end on a bulleted paragraph line. So if I would like my page to end with Richard Mayer, then I would simply create a blank line, press Enter twice, move back onto that blank line, and again insert a page break. Notice I now have a 3-page lesson. I would like Malcolm to be part of my navigation. So I am going to make that a heading 2 styled paragraph. As I scroll up, I'm going to add more page breaks within my lesson. I also can use keyboard shortcuts, Control-Enter to create a page break, just like you used to doing in Microsoft Word. Control-Enter creates manual page breaks. So I'll create just 2 more page breaks, and I'll then have an 8-page lesson. Let's look at how these pages and our navigation features can be displayed within the SoftChalk Create program. We go to Properties from our menu bar and select Lesson Properties. I'm using currently the classic layout. This gives me the ability to put navigation for the students at the top of the screen and at the bottom of the screen. That's what I'm going to look at first. I'll click OK. I'll preview this and save my changes And we now see our navigation at the top of our page. This allows the students to move to the next page. They can go back to the previous page. Notice down at the bottom of each page, there's a next and previous. I'm going to close that browser tab, come back into SoftChalk Create. Again, that was created by going to Properties and Lesson Properties. We're looking at the classic layout. To learn more about changing layouts, you may want to watch the Understanding Layouts in SoftChalk Create video. Let's also add page numbers. Generally, when I add page numbers, I want to remove the navigation that appears at the top of the screen. I'll then click OK. I'll preview this and save my changes. And now you'll notice going across the top of the screen, we now have a navigation bar that allows the students to point and click and navigate to any one of the pages. We still have our buttons at the bottom of the screen to go to Previous or Next. I'll close my browser tab, come back into SoftChalk Create. Let's look at more navigation features. I'm going to again choose Properties and Lesson Properties. We also can display a table of contents. I'm going to show a table of contents. Initially, I'm going to make it appear within the navigation bar. I'll click OK, and let's preview once again. We'll save our changes. You'll now notice the word Contents appears in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. When we point and click on that, it then shows us each one of our pages where we can then point and click and navigate to that particular page. I'll close my browser tab, come back into SoftChalk Create. Finally, I'm going to go to my Properties and Lesson Properties, and I'm going to choose to display the table of contents in a sidebar. I then go to the sidebar options, and I can determine how many heading levels I would like to have displayed in my navigation. We allow you to display up to 2. I'm going to choose Include Heading 2 as well as Heading 1. I'm going to have this sidebar initially expanded, and I'm going to have it placed on the left-hand side of the screen. I'm going to click OK and OK one more time, and let's once again preview this. We'll preview it, save our changes, and notice now we have a table of contents appearing in the sidebar. As students click on the different pages, they see the topics that are on those pages. Students have the ability to collapse the table of contents. They can also expand it. They also have the ability, if you allow them to, minimize the sidebar and then expand it. I'll close my browser, come back into SoftChalk Create. Let's go to Properties, Lesson Properties, and again, let's look at sidebars. I can choose to make the sidebar always open, and that removes the ability for the students to expand or compress the sidebar. I'll click OK. I'll click OK. And that's navigation using the classic layout. Let's now look at our lesson navigation features using the horizontal layout. We'll go to Properties from the menu bar and select Lesson Properties. We've got our horizontal layout chosen. To learn more about layouts, you may want to watch the SoftChalk video dealing with layouts. There are 2 navigation options that are currently selected: Previous and Next at the top, Previous and Next at the bottom. Let's click OK and see what that will display. We'll then preview it in the browser and save our changes. We're now looking at our lesson using the horizontal view. Notice at the top of the screen we have 1 of 8, where we could then go to our next page. Once we're at page 2, we could even go back to page 1. Notice the bottom of the screen also has previous and next, where we can go to the previous screen or we can go to the next page. Let's close our browser and let's add more navigation within the horizontal layout. Again, I'm going to go to Properties from the menu bar and select Lesson Properties. I'm also going to show the table of contents in a sidebar. I then go to my sidebar options and determine whether I want them to be displayed, which side of the screen, and whether I want to give my students control of opening or closing the sidebar. We also then can determine when the page loads, do we want the sidebar initially displayed, or would we like it collapsed? I can determine how many levels of heading values I would like to have displayed within the sidebar. I'm going to have the maximum 2. I'll click OK and OK again. Let's now preview this, saving our changes, and we now see the sidebar. There's only one topic on this first page, so that's all it displays. As the students move to the next page, notice it shows all of the topics that are on that particular page. Students can then use the topic list to navigate to a particular topic. Let's go to our next page. We see that this is an 8-page lesson. If the students would like, they can collapse the table of contents or they can expand it. They also have the ability to hide or display the table of contents. Let's go back into SoftChalk Create, close my browser tab, and I'll come back into SoftChalk Create. And that's creating navigation features within the horizontal layout. Let's now look at the navigation features that we can have displayed within the vertical layout. We choose Properties from the menu bar and select Lesson Properties. We notice the current layout is vertical. You can learn more about layouts within SoftChalk Create by watching the Learning About Layouts video. Currently, the navigation that we're going to have displayed will appear at the top and the bottom of our pages. Let's click OK and let's preview that to see what the top and bottom navigation will appear as. We'll save our changes and we now have our vertical layout that includes the sidebar. The sidebar can be reduced by clicking on this symbol called a hamburger that toggles the sidebar. It allows us to collapse or expand. I'm going to collapse the sidebar, and notice down at the bottom of the screen I can only get to the next page. Once I get to the second page, then I can go to the previous or the next page again. If a page contains more information than what will fit on the screen, as the students scroll down, you'll notice the previous option goes away. If they would scroll back up, they can get to the previous page. And that's our previous and next navigation at both the top and bottom of our screen. I'm going to close the SoftChalk Create browser window and then navigate into SoftChalk Create. Let's modify our navigation. We'll go to Properties and Lesson Properties, and we're now going to show a table of contents in our sidebar. I'm going to go to the Sidebar Options, where I can choose to display a sidebar or not. I can also determine which side of the screen I'd like the sidebar to appear. I can determine whether or not I want to give the ability to the students to hide or display the sidebar. If I choose Always Open, then they lose that ability to hide and display the sidebar. I'm also going to tell it that I want the table of contents to appear when the page is initially loaded, so it will be expanded automatically. I also determine how many levels of navigation I would like to see, and I'm going to include both heading 1 and 2. I'll click OK. I'll click OK again, and let's now preview this in our browser, saving our changes, and we now see our table of contents. As the students point and click on each page, they can see the topics that are on each one of our pages. They could then point and click and navigate to that particular topic. They also can compress the table of contents, and that's our navigation features using the vertical layout. I'm going to close my browser. I'll then come back into SoftChalk Create.